Warning: this episode of 301 Banter contains strong language and material intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. If you are young, please seek permission before watching any further.
Welcome to 301 Banter, a show having conversations with the finest athletes across Minnesota. We delve into the trials and tribulations of the athletes, coaches, and broadcasters that make the sports world in Minnesota tick. So whether you're a diehard sports fan or just curious to learn about different people, join us for discussions and behind-the-scenes glimpses into Minnesota's vibrant sports community.
Today on 301 Banter, I'm joined by the 10K Takes guys, Jack Bossman and Jake Bringold. What started as a simple idea turned into one of the most recognizable brands in the Minnesota sports world. Between 10K TV shows, game live streams, a full line of branded merch, and their own Captain's Patch beer, these guys have built something special. We'll get into how 10K Takes came to be, the grind behind the growth, and what's next for the crew. Now, before we get into it, Jake did have some internet gremlins, so he joined us late. But the 10K Takes guys joins 301 Banter right now.
All right. So I guess the first question here is, how did the idea for 10K Takes start in the first place?
Yeah, so I went to UND in Grand Forks for college, and when I got home, I didn't really have any direction of what I wanted to do. I got a degree in entrepreneurship and marketing, and started a few companies in college that didn't exactly work out. So I was looking for something different, and I'd always been a Minnesota sports fan growing up. I was born here. I had family who lived here. I spent a lot of time in the Metrodome and the XL and Target Center and whatnot. And I was really looking for, I guess, a new spin on Minnesota sports, not so much in the buttoned up professional analytical sense, but more in like a fan's perspective, a little more unfiltered, a little more digital, and just a little more, like just honest, to be frank, instead of just giving you stats and opinions, in a FCC friendly way. So it was pretty much just me to start. I built the 10,000 Takes website, wrote a couple blogs, was kind of just doing my own thing, and then ended up reaching out to one of my college roommates, Zane Wagner, who ended up being the second, or I guess the first guy brought on, and then he was good friends with Jake, who does all the impersonations and goalie bits and God knows what else that I'm forgetting. But so he was the third guy to get brought in. So it was just kind of us three for a while until we started really expanding, beyond just the website. We were just blogging and kind of making dumb YouTube videos. And then as we just gained more attraction and more followers online, we started expanding the crew into things like merch and subsidiary accounts. We have a weekly live show now. We have the Captain's Patch beer, and between all of that stuff we got going on, we have about 40 people involved at this point. Between marketing, graphics, video editing, filming, social. There's other stuff I'm forgetting. Obviously, the merchandise is a whole side. So it's turned into quite a bit just since, building the website back in 2019.
Yeah, for sure. Was there a moment, speaking of like the early on days, was there a moment that you knew that this was going to work, and you could, I guess, compare it to the couple of businesses you started in college too, that
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because we easily could have gave up on it right off the hop, considering if you think about it, I started it in 2019, September, fast forward 5 months, the entire world shuts down for almost a year without sports. So that easily could have been the point where we were like, well, this timing wasn't right and this was a bad idea. But we just stuck with it. I would say if there was one moment that it really took off, there's a couple that come to mind, but the first one that kind of pops up is when Kirk Cousins started to pick up on what we were doing and started interacting with our stuff on Twitter, and then Eventually, we became pretty good friends with him, got to interview him, and I'd say we definitely gained a legit, not that we want to be credible from like a news perspective, but credible from like, oh, we're taking this thing seriously, and it's not just all jokes. It's like we're actually trying to build something here. So that was cool when, yeah, when he started to acknowledge stuff, and then became a guest on the show and just a fan of the page. It really validated us in a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think another thing that might not have been the first one, but I think a lot of people see this too on the hockey side, the relationship you guys have with Bill Guerin, the Wild
Mhm.
general manager. So, what a couple questions basically off of that. The first one is what is he like when the camera is not rolling and he doesn't have feel like he has to be the buttoned up face
Yeah.
of the Wild?
Yeah, I always tell people he's like your dad's friend that was super cool and just said whatever he wanted, or like the cool uncle in the family. He at heart, people got to remember, yes, he's an executive. He is a very professional guy, very intimidating, especially when you're the one asking him questions about like the team struggling or something. But at the heart of it, he's like a hockey player. And, like most hockey players deep down all have pretty similar personalities. They're just one of the boys. They might say something here and there that, might not be appropriate. I mean, he's just one of the guys. That's exactly who he is. I mean, we'll talk about other sports, and in those scenarios he can shoot the he can call out teams, players, like what are they doing? What did this guy do? And he did that. Obviously, being one of the 32 GMs or the 30 GMs in the NHL, you have to you can't just say anything and throw it out there. So he's a lot more careful when he talks about hockey, but when he can talk about anything else, he's just one of the guys. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I'm sure there was a lot of stuff he wanted to say too with the Kirill negotiations this summer and
Yeah.
yeah, did you get any? I know you had him on the show when that I'm forgetting who reported it, but that Kirill turned down the massive
Yeah.
contract. You guys had him on.
Frank Savelli, when he
Yeah, that's
reported it,
right.
he
That's right.
turned it down, which in hindsight, even though Billy said that whole thing was funny because Frank said, Kirill turned it down, and then Bill came on our show about a day later and said no one in our organization told them that. The funny thing was people were like, "Oh my God, Frank Savelli was wrong and Russo's wrong," and it's like 10K versus them in terms of the news. First off, we were just the ones who had him on at that time. Like we're not trying to compete with the Athletic or the Star Tribune or anyone. So I thought that was funny that people were almost like, "We can trust you guys more." No, don't trust us with news at all. Don't trust anything we say when it comes to news. First off, but the second thing was funny is because when he said that, he was just giving the professional answer. Like he wasn't saying that the report was wrong. He was just saying, basically someone leaked info and I don't know who it is.
Yeah,
Like he didn't. And if you look at it, the next deal that gets offered to Kirill is eventually the one he signs, and it's $1 million higher, or an extra $1 million or whatever it was. So that report ended up being right as far as I'm concerned. Now, Bill would probably never say that on the record because they don't like to talk about that stuff. And it does suck for a guy like Kirill when that gets leaked into the public because, those negotiations should be behind closed doors. And it kind of makes him look like a saying, I turned down the largest contract in NHL history. So that whole situation was just so funny. And that was one that, we had scheduled that interview like 2 months ago. So it was pure luck that we got thrown in the middle of it.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, the good news is Kirill's here for 8 more years after this year. I think
Right.
that's it's the thing
Yep.
that people forget is yeah, the Wild are struggling this year, but like the the contract, the extension hasn't kicked in yet. Like the
Right.
extension
And
kicks in next year.
you're not going to be able to attract those players that everyone wants because I know free agency was bad. I mean, there was
Well,
nothing we could have
everyone
done during
just
that.
everyone just went back to their teams.
Exactly. So there was really nothing we could do. Um, and we'll see how the deadline goes this year. But at the end of the day, if you let Kirill walk, you're starting from scratch. Then you're
Yeah.
gonna be looking for your next Kirill Kaprizov, which only comes once in a generation, right? I mean, we haven't had someone like Kirill since Gabrick. So, if you're gonna try to bring in those pieces that everyone wants and talks about, like you need a base there for these pieces to be like, okay, like these guys could actually do something. But if you don't have someone like Kirill there, I don't see anyone wanting to play here.
Yeah, and I think that was again didn't work out the way they wanted it to, but that was part of the reason they brought in Parisi and Suter. Not the entire reason, but like when you've got two guys like that, that makes this this team and market more attractive. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, so we can get back to some Minnesota sports takes in general here in just a second, but I've got some more questions about 10K takes specifically too. So
Yeah.
you mentioned the fake Kirk Cousins that Jake does and all of his bits, and you guys have had obviously more than that. You guys have the Gophers onside kicking coach.
Yep. That's
Um,
another character in his trinket.
Yeah, and then the you guys had the partnered with the Saints with the beer cup snake.
Yep. Yep.
I forget exactly when the year last year, or a year before, something like that.
Couple years ago, yeah, and
Yeah,
then we did one with the Wild too, which that one currently holds the North American record for the longest beer snake, 274 feet, I think it was.
nice, nice. Yeah, that was I remember that one. That was up in the upper concourse,
Yep.
going around there, and yeah. What of all of the kind of bits and antics that you guys tend to get up to? Uh,
Hmm.
and of the ones either we mentioned or didn't mention, which one is your favorite that you guys have done?
Yeah, historically the beer snakes were pretty cool because that wasn't a thing in Minnesota. I that was like a during COVID, everyone, all you could do is sit around and think about what you were gonna do when the world opened back up. And we had the idea of like, all right, well, we should, like Minnesota sports never gets mentioned on Sports Center, like unless they're playing a team that normally gets talked about on Sports Center. That's usually how we make the headlines. So we were like, what can we do to help, the Twins or the Wild or someone get headlines? And there's not much you can do as fans. You can't get on the field and win the games and whatever. But we were like, well, those beer snakes always get showed on social media, and this was the time during, I think this was right after the XFL had started. The DC Defenders did that one where it was going up like two levels of the stadium. Um, so we had the idea of doing one in a Twins game, grassroots, where we bought 50 tickets through like a group deal and then pretty much sold them to friends and random people online who were in our small circle at that time that were consuming the content and that were fans of us. And that one ended up getting quite a bit of notoriety. So then, the Saints being as smart of an organization as they are, especially in minor league where it's not easy to attract people, they thought this is the perfect opportunity. Let's partner with them and do like an organized one where, security won't kick people out or won't try to shut it down because the Twins one got shut down in a couple minutes. Like immediately once the cups went up, it was like, all right, you guys can't, and I get why they do that because it can be dangerous for people sitting below if a cup falls over the railing. But yeah, once the Saints invited us to do it, it was pretty cool. We made a lot of headlines. ESPN wrote an article about us doing it, which was pretty sweet. And then we were on the news. We were on KFan 93X, and then um, obviously ESPN picked it up. But when we did it at the Wild game about a year later, and we did that one in the 300 levels in the concourse, that one was like the first story on Get Up the next day on ESPN, and got all sorts of notoriety. I mean, Barstool, GQ wanted to write an article about it with us, so that was like another kind of cool moment. I mean, there's so many bits over the years, and there's some really niche ones I forget about. But if you're talking about like the history of what we've done, I think that's a pretty big part in it. So I gotta say, yeah, the Cup Snakes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so there is when you're initially growing the show, and you talked about this, in or growing the brand, I guess, in the podcast. And were there any like brands or shows that had an influence on you as you were looking And maybe some of the professional shows, the ESPN button up suit and tie had like an
Yeah.
inverse an inverse effect on you guys because you wanted to be more of the laid back versions of those. But
Yeah, I pretty much like anyone who's doing it differently. Like I was a big and still am like a big Barstool fan. They were a big inspiration behind the brand. Let's do sports, but in a more fan-focused digital way. Like the show Pardon My Take is my number one podcast. I listen to pretty much every episode. If we're talking locally, like Power Trip Morning Show is great. I've met all those guys numerous times. Um, like really pretty much anyone who's doing sports, but more in a different, fun kind of personality centric way.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
Pat McAfee show is another example,
oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It's when they're still know what they're talking about, but it's in a casual way, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
yep,
Right. Like it's obviously not it can't always be a circus, but
right,
you shouldn't get too into the X's and O's because simply put, there are people who, do that full time and are professionals at it. So I like to leave that stuff to them.
right. And I feel like too part of it is you got to be rip teams when they need to be ripped, and then
Right.
praise them when they need to be praised too. Which I feel like some shows are especially here in this market are like, okay, we are only gonna praise the team and only gonna talk about what they do well, and it's like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah,
the
no,
the
you gotta
Twins
take the
suck
good.
post trade deadline. Like,
Yeah, if there's anyone defending the Twins, I mean, they have to be on the payroll to probably defend the team at this point. Otherwise, if you have no affiliation and you're not ripping them, you probably have
that's
some serious issues.
that's too where I'm like, you gotta. I'm okay if you're defending like the players, but if you're
Sure.
defending the front office and the ownership, I don't trust you anymore.
I
I
know.
don't legitimately trust you.
I've seen like two guys do it. Two people on Twitter do it. I'm pretty sure they're pull ad burner accounts. So I don't think there's really any real people out there that defend them, to be honest.
It's yeah, Joe underscore Polad and
Yeah.
Jim underscore Polad on Twitter and
Jim pull ad one. Yeah. Yeah,
uh
exactly.
but we'll getting to the end of this here and we've got um final couple of things and we'll go with your we'll go by team basically here.
Okay.
What is your hot take for each of the Minnesota sports teams? So
Yeah.
we'll
Okay.
start. We can start with the Vikings here.
Okay. Hottest take with the Vikings right now is that they need to essentially flip this season from a winning season to a JJ development season. As much as people don't want to hear that, they're impatient. I get it. But if JJ McCarthy is going to be the answer, we can't expect to be in win now mode. I think you just need to spend the rest of this year, however that means with the strategy and with the game plan. You just need to accept that the rest of this year is going to be a JJ McCarthy year, and you know hope that by next season at this time we're winning games and he's had the reps and he's not making the mistakes and I just don't think the Vikings should expect to be in a playoff spot this year. It's especially with the NFC North and I just think the window opens next year and we have to close it this year and just work on getting him up to speed at where he needs to be at. Um, the Wild. Oh man, there's a lot of directions you could take this right now. Um, if I had to give a hot take, um, I will say it doesn't feel like it, but this is the year we win a playoff series for the first time in a while. I think what's going to happen is we're starting the year off slow. Keep in mind, historically, at least the last few years, this is the opposite of how we usually start. We usually start off super hot. Last year, we were the best team in the NHL until almost Christmas, and then you saw how it ended, right? Maybe this year the script is flipped a little bit. Now, I know there's a lot of new guys, and there's a lot of development happening. But I think by the time it's crunch time, come March, April, this team is really going to figure it out. I think Billy's going to ball out at the deadline because he didn't get the chance to ball out in the free agency. We just need some really bad teams to get ready to sell. I would love to see Nashville sell at the deadline because they have some people that could do really good things at the
Some
deadline.
vets that they're
Yeah,
probably not going to hang on to long term.
like a Ryan O'Reilly or like a Jonathan Marchessault. So they need to give up on whatever they're trying to do there.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe sell us one of their players. Although doing it in the division is never usually likely.
Yeah.
But so I
I
think, yeah,
think
they're gonna load up at the deadline, and I think they're gonna play their best hockey in the spring and carry that into playoffs.
I think too, I think at this point, um, and maybe there's some offseason contract from this past offseason playing into this, but I think Jesper Wallstedt has played himself into at least getting
Yep.
more start, not being maybe the number one guy right now, but at least more starts than just being the backup on the team. Like I think he is
Yeah, him and Gus right now are a good 1-2 punch. I wouldn't argue that one is playing any better than the other, which is what you want, right?
right.
With a tandem setup, like Gus and Fleury kind of had that going last year at a given
And
time where
and that's when
you
Gus was
trusted
playing
both
really
of them.
well. And Gus
Right.
was playing the his best when
Yep.
he was able to have more of a tandem.
And the
So,
good thing about both guys playing well too is they push each other, right? Because if one
yeah,
starts playing better than the other, then the other sits more. And you know how slippery of a slope it can be once you start, getting
yeah,
benched. So I think the dynamic they have is great. I think they're going to push each other to be even better, and it's going to be a really good 50-50 split, which is what you need in the modern NHL.
yeah. Especially with one of the guys being early. I forget exactly how old Wally is, but
Yeah, 20,
like 22,
22,
I think
23 maybe
23,
now.
somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
But when you've got the guy that's 28 and then the other
right.
one's 23, I think that's a
Well, and look
perfect
at
tandem.
look at Gus. Like, I don't think anyone would have expected him to be who he is now, back when he was 23. So they do say, it takes goalies on average about till 26, 27 years old to hit their full potential and get in their full stride. And Wally's only 23, so or 22, whichever one it is. So I think there's just so much more to come, and it's just great that we're seeing it so early. I mean, obviously there were people last season who are quick to give up on him because it's his first year, but I mean, talk about a jump he's made in the
Like
offseason. I
it's like
know he's been
McCarthy.
working. Right,
Give him
yeah.
time. Give him time.
Yes,
Like
exactly. He's young, and if a couple of years from now you're saying the same thing, you're saying he still sucks, then it's time to think about,
right.
other options. But I think Wallsted's ahead of schedule, so it's
Yeah.
great.
So we'll save the disappointments for last. So we'll go to
Yeah,
the Timberwolves first here.
yeah. Somehow the best team of all of them right now at 7-4. At least they're blowing teams out.
They're beating the
They
teams they should
they're
right
beating the
now,
teams they should, which is
which
good.
has been a struggle in the last couple of years. Is they've
Yes.
done well against OKC and Denver
Yep.
and in the regular season, but then
Yeah. I
struggled against the bad teams. So
Yeah, I've seen like fans throw around John Morant trades. I don't want anything. I don't want him anywhere near here, especially with guns in Minneapolis. I think that's just kind of low-hanging fruit for John Morant. He's gonna shoot off an RPG if he ever goes into Minneapolis. So we don't want John Morant. Ant is what he has had 98 points in his last 3 games. I mean, he's playing better than ever. Um, yeah, I think the Wolves will be fine. Julius Randle, it's great to see him starting off this season a lot better than last season.
I think
Um,
that's chemistry too. There's the fact that he
yeah,
played. Yeah, he got traded here the day before training camp started, and so he just
right. Yeah, I think it's great that they've had a full year and that, I think this year in the playoffs they'll be even better, pending everyone's healthy because, last year they really did shake up the lineup, and that's something that takes time, and it clearly took them time to figure it out. They figured it out at the right time,
and
but
that was the same with the when Rudy got traded here too. That first
mhm.
season, it took a while for them to figure that out too, and then
Yeah,
next year they
I
the Western Conference championship
After last year, I have a new appreciation for how much chemistry is involved in basketball because yeah, it really was looking like early in the year last year that the cat trade was a mistake, but I think it ended up paying dividends really
Yeah.
long term, and we're seeing it now still. So
And I think too, like I was saying that the biggest thing with the cat trade was his salary. Like I think he was a
yeah,
good enough player to help us win a championship, but not at his price point. Like
right,
you're getting Julius and Jaden for both less than what you would have been paying Cat. And I'm like,
right.
I'm sorry, right now I'm taking those two together over Cat right now. As
Yeah, I
much
mean you
as
gotta
he's a fan favorite, like I'm taking those two.
right. You gotta spread the love too. You gotta have depth, guys off the bench.
And
We
both
saw with the Lakers last year. If you have a good starting five, that's great, but you need to really
oh yeah.
rely on
Like
guys like like Naz Reid and last year Nikhil Alexander Walker. Like you got to have those depth guys who can come into the game and still
yeah.
deliver. When the starters are taking a breather or they're hurt.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing too with Nas hasn't gotten off to a great start this year, but again, have some
Yeah,
patience. People
right.
have some patience here with no, like he had a very tragic off
Tough
season.
summer. Yeah,
So
real tough
like
summer.
let's have some grace for the human side of
Right.
athlete. So let's
Yeah. We just need to make the towels again. We need to make the towels again,
oh
and I think he'll be
it's
back.
the I think we need to do the what the Phillies did with Trey Turner.
Yeah.
They gave him the standing ovation a couple his first year in Philadelphia. I think we need to start doing the Nas Reed towels every night and
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Everyone just bring your
bring your
towels.
not like few people bring them every game, but I think the entire stadium needs to have them and
I love it.
to get him going. So maybe that's 10K takes his next campaign is just
Yeah.
bringing the
Yeah.
Nas Reed towels every night. And,
The problem is there's a limited supply of them, and the values has gone up over the years
oh
since they
yeah,
made them. I don't
yeah,
think the team expected a beach towel to take off like it did, but I think they're selling on eBay for over $100. So they're in
yeah,
scarce
yeah.
supply. We need to pump some more into the supply. Oh, there's Jake. Look at that, Jake. There's 4 minutes left in the interview. Do you have anything you want to say? Oh,
Hello? Sorry. You can hear
Hey,
me
Jake.
okay?
Jake's fashionably late.
Kirk Cousins, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. We're just talking hottest takes for the Minnesota sports teams, and we just got done with the Timberwolves.
Oh man, hot takes on the Timberwolves. Ooh, I mean, I gotta say, little disappointed. We talked about this on our podcast on Tuesday. I'm a little disappointed in. I need more out of Anthony Edwards on his off the court antics.
Mhm.
He's too well behaved right now, and it's great that he's giving shirts to kids and all that. He can continue to do that, but I want to see some trash talking. I want him to get into fights with fans. Maybe not physically, but we want to see some altercations. And
We need to
on
drive that
top of
fine
the
number up, Jake.
yeah, we need to drive that fine number up. He's at 0 right now for the season. I think before the season I had like an over under prediction on his fine count or his fine amount, and I said like over 100K or something like that. So he's at 0, so we need to bring that up. But also, yeah, they just need to. I think they'll. I think they're one team right now that we can confidently say will make the playoffs. It's just depending on how far they're going to make, how far they're going to
Mhm.
make a run, I guess.
Yeah, and I want to say too, I think that fine counter can't include getting fined for just swearing in interviews. I think it's got to be more than just swearing in interviews because
Yeah,
that
he's got
seems
to
like a
tell.
dumb fine to me. So it's got to be again. Last year, I think he called out the refs a couple times. Like I
Yeah,
need those are the types of fines.
Yep, he said he had a bigger crank than a fan. I think we should get more of that too.
He's like richer than him too. I think was that in
Right,
Phoenix maybe I can't remember exactly, but we need those are the types of fines we need.
yeah.
hundred
We need we,
percent.
we need more of that. We like that. It adds character to our teams, makes them more entertaining than just winning. And if you're not going to win a championship, and you're going to lose in the conference finals every year, well, at least do that. Give us something to cheer about.
Yeah, yeah, and then we uh we were going to bring up the last team here, and
Save the best for last.
I was going to say the opposite, save the worst for last, the bottom of
Yeah,
the standings, bottom team here in Minnesota. So again, I'm going to say hottest take about the Twins, and you can't mention Pohlads because that seems like an easy out.
I think I'll go first. Good friend of ours, Walker Jenkins, I think is going to make his debut this year. Not
Yeah.
it's obviously not in the best of circumstances, but it's more or less because I don't know who else is going to play for the team. Um, maybe Airbud. Uh, maybe we'll see Henry Rowan Gardner make his mound debut, even though his arm isn't broken anymore from Rookie of the Year. Uh, who else are some prominent baseball figures fictionally that
I think
Ed?
doesn't matter how old he is. I think we need Rick Vaughn coming
There
in
you
here
go.
because our bullpen is awful at this point.
Yep. Yep. Maybe Jake, we could talk to Bert Blyleven, see if he's got anything left in the tank.
Mhm.
It's bad, dude. It's so bad. Yeah, I don't really have any prediction. I think we might be the worst team in the MLB.
I
Uh,
think I think that's a hot take with how bad like Colorado is, and
yeah,
to be the like one of the worst isn't a hot take, but the worst with how bad, Colorado, the Athletics, wherever they're playing now, and like
well,
the Red Sox.
at this point, you need to let Pablo, Joe Ryan, and Buxton walk. I mean, what is the point of keeping them around? I heard Buxton is actually considering waiving his no trade, which I would
Yep.
applaud him to do so. He's playing so well right now. He should be on a team where he at least gets to play in the playoffs. And if he wants to stay in Minnesota, that's amazing. Maybe he's content being here and living here, but he's never going to see the playoffs again for the rest of his career, which is unfortunate. Just with the way this team is trending.
See, turn it into the Minnesota Mike Trout at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and that's up to him, man. If he
Yep.
wants to do it, I'll love it because I love Buxton and I love seeing him in a Twins jersey. But I also would not blame him if he's like, I can't do this. I've tried to stick with you guys, I just can't do it.
I think at that point you play a dangerous game of him going to the Dodgers and them winning 17
Three
in a row at this point.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then they're going to
yeah,
implement a salary cap in Major League Baseball, which would be nuts.
And it won't matter for the Dodgers because they deferred all of their money, so they're not
right.
in any of
Yeah,
their
they
players,
they'd be
right?
under
Like
it anyways because
they'd
they're too
still
hard.
somehow be under it, and
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it'd be funny if Byron Buxton. I saw a report on that too, or if he actually gets traded, I wouldn't be shocked if at all we move him. The way the pull ads basically moved everybody last year and traded everybody. They don't seem to care about trading anybody at this point, and it would just be basically Pablo Lopez back. That is maybe the only reputable seasoned player on the team at that point. And at that point, I would say just inject Pablo Lopez into the batting lineup at that point
Yeah.
because
Or
there's nothing
clone
left
him,
in the
I
major
mean
leagues.
that
clone
that
him like
that
how
would
Brady
actually
did his dogs, and clone Pablo and just have 7 of him out there so he can pitch every day of the week.
that
Mhm.
might actually make it worth showing up because then you can see pitcher
Every day's Pablo
pit,
day.
pitchers that rake. We need the get rid of the DH at this point and just go back to pitchers who rake. I think that's the only reason it would be worth showing up to the target field anymore. Um, but yeah, well,
Yeah.
um, I do have one more question since Jake joined us here, quick here. Um, so when you're coaching for the Gophers on the onside kicking, what do you really look for in kickers that can do onside kicks?
Well, it there's a few different things you got to look for when you look at an onside kick. You don't want to just find a kicker that can kick the ball 60 yards, right? There's an art to it, right? There's an art to how you want to kick it. I do look for someone who, you know, I look for more off the field antics, right? It's how many beers can you consume? How many days of how many days can you go on a bender for with before you pass out? Um, and how many strip clubs can you go to in one night? Stuff like that goes into the next day or into the art of the onside kick. I think is what Coach Mike Hawk really looks for and values in an onside kicker is not just really the kick itself, but really how you carry yourselves and the character you have off the field. And really, if it all comes together, you're going to have a hell of an onside kick. I just feel like coaches should kick onsides more. I think they should do onside kicks every kickoff. And the Gophers would have beat Ohio State and Iowa if they would have did an onside kick on every single kickoff. You never know. You got to try it. You don't know until you try it.
It's something I think PJ needs to really think about here is onside kicks.
Well, when you're going
traditional
into
kickoffs are so boring, dude. They're terrible.
Yeah.
Look at the NFL. Soft.
I think 99% of kickoff of the the change in possessions are kickoffs right after a score. That's been going on for what, over ever since they implemented the kickoff, 100 years ago. It's been almost the exact same play every single time after a team scores. I want to see more onside kicks. Let's spice it up. Let's change the game of football for the better, for the greater good, I should say.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, again, thank you guys for the time. I know it was short with you, Jake, but again, thank you for taking the time to come on the show here.
Of course, no problem. Charlie, yeah, nice chatting with you.
You can blame my apartment for that one, but that was annoying as shit. But anyway, yeah, I apologize for being late, but Charlie, we do appreciate you having us on, and happy to talk all the hot takes we have.
Yes. Yeah.
Big thanks to Jack and Jake for joining us on 301 Banter. Go down to the description to check out all of their pages. Thank you for watching this interview. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below on who you want to see next on 301 Banter. We'll see you next time. Peace.